Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What about others? Can you hear me?
Yeah, able to
Okay.
hear.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
If there is any audio problem, try to log out from GoToMeeting and try to reconnect. If there is any audio problem, just log out and log in immediately. If still it is not working, then try to restart your system. Okay, so in today's session, we'll focus on overview of one second. Banu Pratap, I think you need to. Try to restart your system and try if it is not clear. Okay, so in today's session, we'll focus on overview of SAP Fiori development, and we'll try to understand how to install SAP Web ID tool. So these are the two main topics for today's session. So coming to SAP Fiori development, let me give one simple diagram to make you understand that. So when we develop SAP Fiori application, we have to consider many of the options. So in case of SAP Fiori application development, what we do is we need to make use of several different options here. So one of the option is you have to make use of SAP UI5 framework internally. And not only that, SAP UI5 framework, we need to include something like SAP Fiori templates. And if not template, you need to use SAP Fiori elements. And not only that, if you want to interact with backend system, we need to make use of something like OData services. So if you want to develop end-to-end Fiori application, we require UI5 framework, SAP Fiori templates, or you can use Fiori elements along with OData services. So these are the four different categories you need to understand here to develop a complete application. Now, as part of SAP UI5 framework, what it exactly contains? It contains list of libraries. For example, SAP.m, you'll get some libraries. Okay, let me make it as library here, 1, 2, 3, etc. So here you will find collection of libraries inside SAP UI5 framework. 1, 2, 3. So there are some libraries. I'll be writing those list of libraries. But in general, there will be collection of libraries inside UI5 framework. And in each library, there will be some list of classes. Class 1, class 2, etc. You can just consider like this. So there will be some list of classes under each library. And not only that, I can say under each class, there will be some properties, methods, and events. So under each class, when you open a class, you'll find these properties, methods, as well as events. This is how it looks like. For example, class 1, you can find these options. Or class 4, you can find the same options, but the property names will be different, method names will be different, event names will be different. So if you want to develop Fiori application, UI5 framework is required, which internally requires libraries, and libraries requires classes, and classes contains all these properties, methods, and events. So for developing end-to-end SAP Fiori applications, so we require SAP UI5 framework. As I told you, that framework contains libraries, classes, properties, methods, events. Plus, not only that, it requires SAP Fiori templates. So you can use either a master detail template, you can use master detail template, or you can use worklist template. And not only that, I can say we need to make use of SAP Fiori elements, either template or you need to use Fiori elements. Under Fiori elements, there is list report element that is for reporting, or you can use overview page element. And on top of this, we need to consume OData services. So it can be an OData ABAP service, or it can be OData external service. It all depends on the scenario, or OData HANA service. So this is how it looks like. So in terms of diagram, I can say if you are using templates, there are two main templates. So one of the template, we call it as master detail template. You can use this template for developing the application, or you can use worklist template. And not only that, I can say master detail template is also known as split app template. Few people will call it as master detail, and some people will call it as split app template, but both are same. And worklist template is also known as something like full screen template. So you can consider this as full screen template here. So there are two technical words for which points to the same meaning. Worklist template is full screen template. Master detail template is split app template. So don't get confused with these technical terms. These two are same and these two are same. Now, not only that, if you don't want to use templates, then you can use Fiori elements. You can use Fiori elements here. So there are mainly three Fiori elements. One is like list report element. and there is overview page element and analytical list report element. So you'll find these three main elements. In case if you don't want to use template, you should use element. So either this or that. And coming to OData service, in OData services, you can use any of these services, OData ABAP service, or you can use OData HANA service, which is exposed from CDS view, or you can use OData Excel service. It's an external service. So in terms of OData service, you can use either ABAP service or HANA-based CDS service, OData Excel service. So by keeping all these things in mind, we have to develop our applications. So if you want to develop any application, we require a tool that is nothing but SAP Web ID tool, or we can use a business application studio. Okay, let me write a simple note here. Let me save this. This is just an overview of how SAP Fiori application is developed. Now, if you want to develop any application, we require one of the tool, either Web ID tool or Business Application Studio. As of today, we will be installing Web ID tool, and in the coming days, we are going to discuss and configure SAP Business Application Studio also. But the coding remains same, the approach, the syntax, all those things remain same, irrespective of the tool, in terms of UI5 Fiori. Okay, let me go with SAP Web ID tool installation. So there are 4 to 5 important steps. That is, step 1 is you need to install JDK software. It is recommended to install JDK software. You can also install locally with this particular procedure. After the training, you can install that. And step 2 is we need to install SAP Web ID tool. And SAP Web ID tool internally will make use of JDK software. We are not going to write any Java coding. Java is nowhere related to this particular concept. So Web ID tool internally will use JDK, but we are not going to write any Java code directly anywhere. So please remember that. And step 3 is we need to create an account for SAP Web ID tool. We need to create an account for SAP Web ID tool. And step 4 is we need to configure settings. Under this, there are 2 options. One is we need to configure service destination file. And second thing is we need to configure host file. So these are the 2 files that is required if you want to access OData service from SAP Web ID tool. If you want to establish connection with backend, then these 2 configurations are required: service destination file and host file. To have a step file, that is, we can verify whether connection to backend is success or not. And if the connection is success, then now we are ready for SAP Fiori development. We can develop our applications from the scratch level. So this is a simple procedure we have to follow. Let me explain step by step in detail. First JDK, then Web ID tool, and create account for Web ID tool, configure some settings, check whether connection is success or not. And if the connection is success, you can start developing your Fiori applications. So let me go with step 1. This is like step-by-step procedure. In detail, we are going to discuss. So installing JDK. So what you do is just try to open below link. In your system, you can open one of the link. Let me give that link to you. So here, this is a link. In this link, you can see there is JDK 8 and it is an exe file. Don't download other files. You need to download an exe file here. You can see this 166 MB software, Windows 64-bit. So that is required. Okay, let me take this screenshot. So you can directly go to this. That's a link. And don't directly search in Google. You will get several other options. Don't worry about that. Directly, you can visit this site. Then under that, there is Windows 64-bit. So what you do is just download this. It's a exe file. Please notice that. Don't download other files. So this is JDK link from where you can download. So procedure wise, directly go to this and just select Windows 64-bit JDK related .exe file. Careful, Web ID tool with low JDK related exe file. Okay, so let me select this. Like accept option, there is a checkbox. You can see this. And then click on download. But here you'll get one option to log in. So this is just for download option. Okay, let me click on download. So when you click on download, you will be redirected to a login page here. So first time you'll be redirected to login page. If you don't have any Oracle account, you can create a free account here. If you don't have an account, you can create a free account here. After the account is created, you can click on sign in. If the sign in is successful, then it will allow you to download JDK. It will open a pop-up box. You can save that file into your downloads folder. Pop-up. So we'll get a pop-up. You can just click on save. So if there is no account, try to create an account. And then click on save as. Okay, so let me click on Save As. And before that, let me write that step. And then click Download. After that, try to click on Save As. Click on Save. If Oracle account is not available, can create new account and proceed. So then you'll get a pop-up. After that, you can click on Save. Save file. So here, let me do that. Now, it will download that. What you do is just open your downloads folder now. Here, you can open that downloads folder option here. Finally, you'll get JDK in your downloads folder. What you do is just very simple, click on this file and click on next. Double click this file and then click next, next, finish. Don't change any setting, just blindly proceed like this. So double click this file, click next, next, finish, and restart your system. It is recommended to restart your system. The settings will be readjusted. So with this procedure, you can complete JDK installation in your system. So now open your downloads folder in your system. Then just double click on JDK related exe file and then just click next, next, finish. That's it. So don't worry about any setting and don't change any setting. Just click next, next, finish, and it is recommended to restart your system at this level. So this is step one. And after restarting your system, the settings will be adjusted and successfully you can install JDK. That is part of step one in this case. I think I've saved this. Yeah, let me save this. Now, in my case, I'm not proceeding because I've already installed. I don't want to disturb my setting. So in my case, it's already installed. I'm not proceeding further. In your case, just double click and click next, next, finish and restart the system. So that will be the end of JDK installation. Now, what is step two? Step two is install SAP Web ID tool. Step two is install Web ID tool. So that is, you can open Google Drive link, which I'm going to provide. So I'll be providing it after the session. So just open that Google Drive link and you need to download that file. Download something like latest SAP Web ID tool zip file. You'll get a zip file. Let me just open that. So Web ID tool. So there is a zip file here. I'll be forwarding this link after the session. So from here, you can download that zip file. Let me just take that screenshot first. So through Google Drive, so you'll get one zip file. Try to download this. Download SAP Web ID related .zip file into your system. So this is one thing that you need to do. Okay, let me save that screenshot. So just open Google Drive link and download that Web ID tool related zip file. So let me do that here. So what you do is just click on download anyway. Don't cancel here, just click on download anyway. After that, you can see here, it will take some time and it will open a pop-up, and what you do is just click on save file. That zip file will be saved in your downloads folder in your system. So you can see the progress. So it is completed. Now you can open your downloads folder. Click on save file. Now open your downloads folder. In your system, you'll find that downloads folder. Then what you need to do is, here you can see. So you will find something like this one. It's a zip file. And here you need to copy this zip file from your downloads. First time, it may take some time to digest all these properties and options, but from next time onwards, you need not do all these things. This is just one-time activity. Okay, so here, after opening your downloads folder, what you do is just copy SAP Web ID tool related and go to C directory. I recommend you to go for C directory in your system. Under C directory, what you do is just create one new folder. Create one new folder. For example, SAP Web ID tool. Create one new folder, SAP Web folder. click this zip file and just click on extract here. That's it. Right click that zip file and click on extract here. So paste that zip file under that new folder. Then just right click on web ID related .zip file. And what you do is just click on extract here. So that's an option. Now what happens is automatically some folders, subfolders, files are generated. So when you right click and extract that zip file, automatically some folders, subfolders, and several files are generated automatically. So here you can see in my case, okay, let me take this screenshot once. So what you do is select that zip file. After creating a folder, what you do is just click on extract here. On extracting zip file, some folders, subfolders, so some folders, subfolders, and several files will be generated here. On extracting, this is important. Why? Because we need these files, folders, subfolders, etc. So just click on extract here. Extract SAP web ID zip file. Now, in my case, after extracting, by default, I'll get one internal folder as Eclipse. On extracting this web ID zip file, automatically I'll get one Eclipse folder internally. Under that folder, there will be subfolders. You can see that. Eclipse folder, and there are several subfolders, and there is one important file that is orient.exe file here. You can see this. So what you need to do is SAP Web ID tool. What you need to do is first time go inside Eclipse folder, that is auto-generated folder, and that right click on orient.exe file. And what you do is you can send that to a desktop. First time you try to do this so that next time onwards from desktop itself, you can start your web ID tool. First time it's better to do this. Right click that, send to desktop, and create it as shortcut icon. So this is our folder. There is a auto-generated Eclipse folder. Under that, there is orient.exe file. You can send it to a desktop. So that means we are just creating a shortcut icon. Now, so in terms of procedure, just right click that and click on send to something like desktop as shortcut icon. Okay, so now after this, what you need to do from desktop, what you do is you can double click. orient.exe file and just minimize. Don't close that. You have to minimize that window. As long as you work on Web ID tool, you need to just minimize that window. Here you can see this. On my desktop, now that Orient shortcut icon is available, we can just double click this. It will open one black screen. And what you do is, don't worry about this, just click on minimize. Don't close it. If you close it, you will not work on Web ID tool locally. It's just double click that and minimize this black screen here. It's a command screen, or you can call it as a black screen here. You can just minimize this. Now you can start working with Web ID tool. If you close this and if you want to connect to Web ID, it is not going to happen like that. It is not going to work. So as long as you work on Web ID tool in your local system, just try to make sure that this is in minimized state. So double click orient.exe file, just minimize that window. So now we can connect to SAP Web ID tool using below URL. Okay, this I'll write it as a separate option. To connect to SAP Web ID tool. So use Google Chrome. Google Chrome is recommended. Just open Google Chrome browser. And use below URL. Let me open that. So you can use any browser, it doesn't matter, but according to SAP, SAP recommends you to go with Google Chrome because there are some one or two options that we can open only through Google Chrome, not in other browsers. You can try in other browsers, definitely it will work, no doubt. But recommended is Google Chrome, just remember that. Now, after that, you can open this link here. Here you can see local host. This is the option you need to select. And click on create new account. Okay, 1 second. In my case, already the account is available, but first time you need to open this one. Localhost colon 8080 is a port number / web ID / index.html. Just remember this. Localhost 8080, that's a port number, web ID / index.html. Then what happens is first time you need to create an account. That is nothing but our step 3. Let me log out. Now, according to our step 3, we need to create new account. This first time you have to do it for SAP Web ID tool. That is, you can do this here and click on create new account. So let me do that. Okay, so first time you'll get this screen. What you do is just click on create new account. There is an option here. Okay, let me just take that screenshot. Installation is most important. So just create one new account by selecting this. This is an account for connecting to Web ID tool from next time onwards. For connecting to SAP Web ID tool. Next time onwards, you need to remember that account and log in with that account. Okay, so I hope you got the point. Right, so After selecting new account, you'll get one option here. Username, password, retype password, email ID. Just provide the details here and click on sign up. That's it. So whatever the account you have created, this is just for connecting to Web ID tool, and you need to remember that account because on single local installation, only one account can be created. If you install Web ID locally in your system, only one account can be created. That is one of the restrictions. So whatever account you have created, remember that account. Otherwise, you need to reinstall that entire Web ID tool. So be careful. Just provide below details like username, something like password, or retype password. And then if you want, you can provide email ID. I think that's not mandatory. In your case, you can create your own account with your own details, but if you have an habit of forgetting, then just try to provide these things. This is the details for Web ID. It's not a Gmail related account. It's a general Web ID tool account. No need to worry. So click on sign up. That's it. So your account will be created. Now your SAP Web ID tool account is created with this procedure. In my case, I'm not proceeding because I'm already having that account. So I can click on cancel. Now, next time onwards, if you want to log in, what you need to do? You need to click on this option, sign in. When you sign in, provide that login details and click on sign in here. To log into SAP Web ID tool, what you can do is, just as part of procedure I'm writing here, go to this link again, click on sign in. Provide your account details, that is SAP Web ID tool account details. And then click on sign in. That's it. So now it opens SAP Web ID tool welcome screen, a welcome page. If you get this welcome page, that means your Web ID tool is successfully installed. Of course, we have to connect to backend. That we are going to do it in the next step. But how to verify whether Web ID tool is successfully installed or not? You can verify by trying to ID, and if you get a welcome page or a welcome screen, that means Web ID tool is successfully installed. You can just assume like that. Okay, let me write as a note. If you get welcome screen, then we can assume SAP Web ID tool is successfully installed. So here you will get this type of screen. When the login is success, if the installation is successful, then you'll get a Web ID tool and you'll get this option. By default, first time you'll get this welcome screen here. First time you'll get this welcome screen. If you want to develop the application, you can shift to workspace here. There are two options. One is home screen, another is development workspace option. You can see that. So first time you'll get this screen. If you get this screen, you can assume that Web ID tool is successfully installed. Let me take this screenshot. So whenever you connect to Web ID tool, this is the URL now. And this is your welcome screen. Welcome to SAP Web ID. You'll get this. So SAP Web ID tool URL. Okay, let me close this. Now, what we can do, we can create our projects here. You can go to development workspace and we can right click and we can create some projects here by using templates, without templates, and all those things are possible here. But before proceeding, before creating all these things, what we'll do is we'll try to go with step 4. Before creating any project, what we do is we try to go with step 4. Step 4 says we need to configure some settings. One of the configuration is service destination file. Another configuration is host file. So step 4, we need to adopt now. So when you want to configure settings, service destination file, if you are installing Web ID from my Google Drive, then you can ignore this option. Configuration 1 is configuring service destination file. You need not do it every day, only once you have to do it. That's a first time activity, one time activity. So configuring destination file. So this configuration you can ignore. In case if you have installed SAP Web ID tool from my Google Drive. Why? Because we have already pre-configured it. In case if you have installed Web ID tool zip file from my Google Drive, then you can ignore this service destination file configuration. Why? Because I've already pre-configured that service destination file inside this zip file. We have already pre-configured and we are providing it to you through Google Drive. So you can ignore this particular configuration manually. You need not do it. Because I have pre-configured that service destination file inside SAP Web ID tool zip file. So you can ignore this particular procedure. That is what I mean to say. Now, what exactly is that service destination file? Let me give some introduction of that. And why we require this service destination file. Let us understand that. So here, ultimately what we are going to do is we are going to make use of Web ID tool and we are going to connect to SAP backend system. From Web ID tool, what we do? We develop our Fiori applications here. We develop Fiori app 1, 2, 3, etc. here. And ultimately, what we do is from the backend, we try to consume OData service, OData service 1, 2, 3, etc. Yeah, can one of you confirm? Can you see my screen? Can you hear me properly? Can some of you confirm that?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Fine. Okay, I got the answer. Yeah. So let me proceed now. So here you can see there is a Web ID tool. And Web ID tool, ultimately, it has to connect to the backend. So why it has to connect to backend? Because Fiori application has to consume these services. Fiori applications which you create in Web ID tool must connect to these services. So if you want to consume these OData services, there should be a connection between these two things, Web ID tool and backend system. So to establish connection between Web ID tool and backend system, what we need to do? We require service destination file. And we require host file. Okay, host file. So if you want to establish connection between Web ID tool and backend system, then these two files are required, service destination file and host file. So if these two files are configured successfully, what we can do? We can make use of OData model. We can consume or access OData service. If the connection is successful, we can develop the application by using OData model. We can consume OData service. We can send data and we can receive data between these two options. So in our Fiori applications and UI5 applications, we are going to make use of OData model. And this OData model ultimately helps you to consume OData service so that you can send data, receive data, and you can trigger the database functionalities. You can trigger database functionalities. So to make these things successful, first, as a developer, you need to focus on this. This is one-time activity. Okay, let me write that simple note somewhere after this procedure. To establish, very, very important, just remember this. To establish connection between SAP Web ID tool and SAP backend system. It can be ECC server or HANA server, S4 HANA, it doesn't matter, but the procedure remains same. So backend system can be ECC or it can be S4 HANA, it doesn't matter, the procedure remains same. So to establish connection between these two things, as a developer, we need to configure two files. As I told you, first file is service destination file. Second file is host file in your system. Just remember this note. Now, what is the purpose? It's to establish a connection, but after establishing connection, how this is going to work? So, SAP Fiori front-end app consumes OData services and trigger database functionalities and can send data, receive data between front-end Fiori app and SAP backend system via OData service. So all these things we can do it only if the connection is successful. If above connection is success. To establish connection, these two files are required. And if the connection is successful, what we can do is we can consume OData service. We can trigger database operations. We can send data. We can receive data between the front-end app and the backend system. So just remember these 2 points I've already highlighted in this diagram. Very simple, but very important. So purpose of configurations. Now, out of curiosity, I want to know what exactly that service destination file contains. In your case, you need not do it, but I just want to open that file for more clarity. Here you can see. So under Web ID tool, when you extract, you are getting Eclipse. Under that, you will get configuration master. There is service destination, and there is destinations folder. Under that, there are two backend systems here. One is EH7, another is FIO. So these are the service destination files. So in your case, after extracting Web ID, automatically you'll get these files. So you need not configure again. So here you can see, if you open that with a notepad, so you can understand that it contains the server name and the port number, and it contains the system ID. And here you can see it contains some options. If you want to consume OData services, then all these options has to be configured. And with which backend system you want to connect. So that backend system server name has to be provided, and the port number of that backend system has to be provided. How you want to connect, and what is the system ID. So these things, generally, they are part of service destination file. And how Web ID tool and how your applications will connect to backend through HTTP protocol. So these type of settings are required in destination file. And just for knowledge purpose, I'm giving this screenshot, but you need not configure these things in your system, because you'll get this automatically after extracting zip file. So it's a service destination file. And connection is through HTTP protocol via internet. It connects to this so-and-so backend, server name, and the port number. And this is our system ID. And these are the options required for consuming OData services. Now, say suppose if I'm using SAP Business Application Studio. For that studio also, the same settings are required. So the point here is, these are the common options. System ID and how you want to connect, and what is a backend server, what is a port number, and what are the options required for connecting to backend, for consuming the services. And which protocol you want to use. This is the protocol, and this is a system ID, and this is via internet. We need to connect, so we are providing that. And this is a server name, that's a backend server name. Not service name, it's server name. And then there is port number. And then these are the default options that are required for consuming services. Now, whether you use Web ID tool or Business Application Studio or Cloud Web ID or Cloud Business Application Studio, it doesn't matter. The same type of settings has to be configured in order to establish connection with backend system. From your applications, you can consume the services if these things are properly configured. Okay, so this is just an overview of service destination file. Okay, I'm closing this. You need not configure this. Once again, I'm saying why, because you will get these things automatically if you extract my zip file, which I have provided through Google Drive. The files will be auto-generated. Now, let us go back to the next configuration. That is configuration 2, that is configuring host file. Configuring host file. So this is compulsory. You need to do it manually in your system. There is no pre-configuration. You have to do it explicitly. So how to do that? Here you can see open below path in your system. So let me open this. In your system also, go to C directory, go to Windows and System 32, and then drivers, etc. Under that, there is host file. By default, there will be a file, but you need to add your IP address and the server name. So here you can see this is a host file and this is a path. Let me copy this path. In your system also, the same path will be available. C, Windows, System 32, drivers, etc. This path is common for all the systems. So open this path. And what you do is, it is better to copy host file to desktop. You can make changes there itself, but it is recommended to copy host file to desktop and open host file with notepad option. Add below entry as it is. Add below entry as it is. So what is that entry? What exactly we have to do it? Let me open that. So copy this host file to the desktop and make changes. After that, paste it back to the original path. So in this file, you can see here there is host file. Under that host file, you'll get all these options. But what you need to do, you need to provide our backend system IP address, backend system server name. That's it. Let me take the screenshot. In every system, whoever is accessing our web ID tool, if you want to connect to backend, the IP address and the server name has to be mapped here inside host file. So this is the IP address of SAP backend system. So for practice purpose, definitely this is required in your case also. And not only that, this is the server name. We call this as complete server name, or we call it as fully qualified domain name, or in simple words, we can call it a server name. So what we're trying to do is, in host file, we are maintaining mapping between IP address and server name, backend server name. So in simple words, I can say, in host file, we have to maintain mapping between IP address and backend server name. Then only your web ID tool will connect to the backend system. Otherwise, it won't connect. You can't consume service. You can't develop any application. So this is mandatory. So you need to add this entry as it is in your system. Okay, let me just highlight this. This is host file screenshot. Don't paste this file in your system. It won't work like that. So this is just a screenshot. As per the screenshot, try to configure your host file in your system. Okay, then what you do is, after configuring, just try to click on save. If you click on save, it will save it as an original system file. If you click on save as, it will save it as a text file. If you save it as text file, there is no use. Your web ID tool cannot recognize this file. Your system itself cannot recognize the text file. So always you need to save this file as a original system file. When you click on save, it automatically saves as original system file. So most of the people, 90% of the students will make a mistake here. Don't click on save as, and don't save it as a text file. It's a blunder. What you need to do, just click on save. When you save, it will save it as a original system file. Then only your system will recognize this file and it connects to the backend. So, okay, I'm trying to close it because it's already configured in my system. So what is that path? What is that configuration? Let me copy that. .172.175.13.217. This is our backend system IP address and the backend system fully qualified domain name. We call it as a server name. And what you do is just click on save. Don't click on save as. Why I'm writing this? Just because most of the people will make a mistake here. So don't click on save as, just click on save. Now that's the end of this story. After clicking save, what you do is copy this host file from desktop and paste it under original path. So what is that path? C Windows System 32 drivers etc. That's the original path. After adding this entry, copy host file from desktop and paste that file under original path, that is C Windows System 32 drivers etc. That's it. So now, after doing all these things, then you are ready for Fiori development. You are ready for consuming the services, and we can develop end-to-end applications. But I want to test it. So step 5 says, verify whether connection to the backend is success or not. Connection to backend from SAP Web ID tool is success or not. So that is step 5. Let us verify this. That's the last step. So after configuring, check whether connection to the backend from Web ID tool is success or not. So how to do that? So just try to open this. So log into Web ID tool. You can log into Web ID tool, provide your account details. After that, here you can see. Connect to Web ID and you'll get home screen. Go to development workspace here. Go to development workspace. Shift to development workspace here. Just we are verifying. We are not developing application now. We are just testing the connection. So go to development workspace, and what you do is here, right click workspace and select a new project from template. Select project from template, and you can select any template as of now. We are not developing application, so you can select any template randomly. Select worklist template as an example. Right click workspace and select new project from template. Select SAP Fiori worklist template. I'll be explaining what is worklist, etc. Don't worry. Just select worklist template as an example. Then what you can do is you can click on next. Here you can see. Okay, let me take the screenshot otherwise. This is important. I'll give more information about these templates later. I'm just selecting one of the template just for testing the connection. Right, so I'm selecting worklist template. Click next. Just provide some project name. Z test 123, something like that. Click next and just provide some project name, for example, Z test project 123. And here you can see, now this is the important screen. What all we have done in the last 1.5 hours, whether that is success or not, that you can understand from here. So you have to select service catalog here. Under that, you need to select EH7. That is our service destination, or we can call it as a system file. So select EH7. FIO is dummy. Don't worry about FIO. It's a dummy server. EH7 is the original one. Select this. Now you need to log into the backend system here. You need to connect to the backend. And if the backend connection is success, then you'll get the list of OData services here. Okay, you can see now it is success. So we are able to get list of OData services here. You can see this. Now, if you get these services, that means the connections are success. You can consume service. Now you can proceed for Fiori development. So here, let me take this screenshot, the most important screenshot for today's session. Select service catalog. And what you do is select EH7, that is our service destination. It connects to the backend. And if the backend is success, you'll get list of OData services. So if connection to backend system is success, then list of OData services will be visible. These are all OData services. So my connection is success, so I'm able to get list of OData services. If you are not getting that services, that means there is some problem with your configuration. There may be configuration problem in host file, or configuration file problem may be with service destination file. But if you follow this procedure as it is, definitely you will succeed. Now here, click next. Select service catalog. Service catalog. Select EH7. Select EH7. So what EH7 will do? EH7 connects to SAP backend from SAP Web ID tool. So provide user ID of backend system and provide password for backend system. Then login. If login is successful, then list of OData services will be available. If list of OData services are available, what we can do? Then we can develop end-to-end SAP Fiori applications. So that's the end of the story. So this is how you can verify. You can verify your connection is success or not. You can verify whether it is connecting to the OData services or not by using this procedure. Step 5. Okay. So now what is step 6? Step 6, we are going to proceed from tomorrow onwards. Now we are ready for SAP Fiori development. So that we will continue in the next session. So tomorrow I'll try to introduce what is the template, what is the advantage of template, what is the difference between templates, master detail template, worklist template, and what are the default screens for those templates, and how to access the documentation, how to recognize the library, how to recognize the class name, how to recognize the properties, etc., that we are going to discuss in the next session. Okay. But please remember, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 5 are part of one-time activity. One-time activity. You need not do it every day. Only once, first time you need to do it. That's it. So if you have any doubt, now you can ask me.
Hi, Vijay. This is Ravi.
Yeah. Yeah, what's your doubt?
Vijay, like as of now, we are talking locally configured web UI tool, right? What if using online web UI tool, what are the steps to configure host file and service destination file?
So if you are trying to use something like Cloud Web ID, right?
Exactly.
Cloud Web ID, what you need to do is you need to install SAP HANA Cloud Connector.
HCI. Okay.
Okay, you need to install HANA Cloud Connector, and you need to add your Cloud Web ID account details and map, and you need to maintain mapping with your backend system. So this is one thing that you need to do it. And in services section, I think there will be service destination. There you need to configure. There you need to configure these properties, something like HTTP and system ID, and then some web ID usage, and then server name, port number, etc. So let me just show that once. If you, in case if you are using Cloud Web ID, you have to do like this. Here you can see. Let me open that. Okay. Let me open this Cloud trial account. So here, there will be service destination configuration. Service destination is very common. Here you can see there is connectivity option. Under connectivity, there is destinations. Under connectivity, there is destinations. Under that, you have to configure this. You can see here. You have to add one entry and you need to configure like this.
Sure.
So in cloud platform, if you are trying to use a Cloud Web ID or Cloud Business Application Studio, but ultimately it also contains a destination file and it also contains the options here. You can see HTTP, EH7, URL, port number, basic authentication, and you can see here EH7 and web ID usage, all these things. The same things we are trying to configure locally here in our case. Here you can see that. In web ID, there is EH7, which I've shown you earlier. If you open that, you will get the same options. Okay, let me open that. Here you can see EH7, HTTP, basic authentication, web ID usage, and server name, port number, how you want to connect, and system ID. The same options you will find here in your connectivity. Got it?
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. Thanks.
Same options. I'll forward one document to you. If you are unable to do that, then I'll explain in one separate session. Let us not mix up both the things. If we mix up both cloud web ID, local web ID, what happens is there will be a lot of confusion. So after understanding the local web ID setup, after developing few applications, then I'll explain how to go with cloud web ID also. I'll explain the step-by-step procedure. Okay.
Perfectly. Thanks.
But the point here is the service destination is common. Service destination is common for what? For local web ID, and it is for cloud web ID, cloud SAP web ID, and it is also common for